Hey team, this is episode 7 of the Coaches Roundtable. I just had to look at Alex to check that I actually got that right. Um, yeah, so
Yeah, it is.
same format as last week. Take your questions. It's going to be hopefully a little bit of a short one this week, but we'll wait and see how it goes. Yeah, take it away.
All right. Just going through the list. Got one from Sarah.
hmm
Managing non-training stress during training and how to handle a session that has to be cut short.
Sorry, repeat that again.
Hmm. So managing non-training stress during training and how to handle a session that has to be cut short.
Okay, so I guess we could probably break that down into two parts. If we go for managing stress, and then we can go into like session by session basis in terms of if it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Seeing as I usually lead all of them, I'm happy for you to take the lead on this,
All right.
and then we'll just see how it goes.
I think by so non-training stress. So I'm gonna assume that that's kind of like sort of outside worries, stuff like, you know, I don't know, your job, your studies, your family, your friends, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, and then also like any of the kind of fatigue that sort of comes along with that, like, say you're not operating on enough hours sleep, or maybe you didn't eat as well, that kind of thing.
hmm
Um, Lots of different ways for managing it. I think firstly, like sort of like training on a schedule was one of the things that like kind of helped me quite a bit, in that like if you're training between say 12 and 2, that you have to get your work done before 12, and you have time to do it afterwards, so that you're not basically putting stuff off until the last minute,
yeah,
or saying, oh, I'll do it later, do it later, and then that eats into training, that kind of thing. um, I think as well, trying to sort of be present in training. I think leading up to things, it can sometimes get a bit like, oh god, I've got, you're worrying about certain things, and you're not looking forward to the gym, but actually like 9 times out of 10, when you're actually there, like you're not worrying about anything else, you're just focusing on like the exercises that you're doing,
hmm
what's coming up in the program, that kind of thing. So I think bearing that in mind, in that even though you might not want to do it right now, once you're there, like in the actual gym itself and doing the work, it'll feel a lot better. It'll feel a lot better afterwards. Um, I don't know. I think as well, there's a couple of different like sort of mental approaches that you can take to it. Um, I was almost. I'm just trying to think of like different kind of ways of sorting it. Just trying to kind of separate your gym time and your training time from everything else. So, put your phone away, put your laptop away, don't be responding to messages, or, oh, I'll just get back to my supervisor in between my sets, just forget about that, leave that till afterwards. So kind of try and separate the two as best you can. And then you'll find that like they don't bleed into each other as much. And,
yeah,
you'll hopefully be less stressed during training.
yeah. I think
Um,
you've kind of gone at it from a different route that I was expecting you to take, where you kind of are going to the point where you're looking at training um, in terms of how can you better handle the stress during your training.
yeah.
I was going to think of it at the point where imagine, and you hear this a lot when you say like stress is stress. So if you imagine stress is like a bucket and you only have one bucket, you can't like spread it over different ones. It all goes into one. There comes a point where regardless of where it comes from, it will fill up and it will overfill, so it will start to spill out, even if that's marital stress, you know money, training, relationship, friendship, whatever it might be. It all kind of pulls together into the same bucket. And you actually kind of put it in a good perspective where you've got to almost learn that you know, if you have a very stressful job, it is going to impact your ability to train, or at least your ability to stress yourself within training,
Mm.
because you're already filling that bucket enough. And I
Yeah.
think it's being able to, like you said, realize that actually, you know, I might not be able to do as much because of the fact that, you know, my job is stressful, or because I have a lot of other things going on with family, whatever it might be. So it very much is like a case by case basis. It's not like there's, I wouldn't say that there is like a specific blueprint that you should follow, but I think you have to realize that, like I said, it all compounds. You can't expect to have a really, really stressful training regime and then, you know, operate to 100% within your job or within whatever it might be. There's going to have to be some give and take. Um, so in terms of like management strategies, I think you said it well. You know, even if it's days where you don't feel like training or you're too tired when you get into the session, sometimes, you know, that's a good indication for you to go, okay, I'll take this day as a rest,
Mm.
and then I'll come back tomorrow. But on other days, you might just say to yourself, well, let's just see what I can do. And then, you know, if it's not as optimal as I would have liked it to be based on the program that you're looking at in front of you, then you've almost kind of got to take it with a pinch of salt and go, well, it's a case, it's day by day,
I
you know.
think, yeah, just to sort of like give an example, you know, if you've got a heavy day coming up and, you know, you're due to be hitting like, say, heavy singles or heavy doubles, and you know, like, you know, because in order to do your best within that kind of situation, you've got to be in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be like kind of aggressive with it and confident. And if you're not, and you can't get yourself into that state, then there's almost like not a huge amount. It's, you know, either you're going to end up hurting yourself or you're
Hmm.
not going to hit the targets that you wanted to hit, and you know that's not going to help the situation either. So it's kind of like, it's sort of knowing when and where to cut your losses and to turn, you know, what should be a heavy hard training session into like a technical session. Then kind of on the flip side as well, you know, if you've done that last week and this week you're going into like a lighter session, good, you're feeling really confident, then, you know, like maybe push that a little bit. So it's kind of like, yeah, just trying to strike a balance with things. And if your kind of stresses within your life are affecting things, then sort of working around them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I want to say on that one.
Yeah. And I think, I guess, to sort of refine the answer, or at least to add my final point to that is, um, I, from what I gathered, you were alluding to sort of trying to, even if you are, even if you know that you might become stressed, or um, for whatever reason, you're not going to do that session, or, you know, something has taken up a lot of stress that you didn't initially think you would, sometimes have to realize that there are a lot of events that you can't control. And as hard as it may be, it's accepting that, you know, you can't always control those things. um I am not usually one for, like, I wouldn't say that I'm an expert at stress management, because there's a lot of times where work can get overwhelming. But I'm I'm quite good at saying to myself, well, maybe I could just, you know, take the day off and I'll come back tomorrow.
Mm.
Um, and it works in some regards, but in other ways, it's also, sometimes you need to be assertive to yourself and to say, like, well, actually, no, I'm going to do this because, you know, I need to,
I think
whatever.
what helps me with that kind of situation is like, you know, because again, you've got to try and separate like the kind of emotional from the logical. So, you know, just for a second, just fuck what you think or what you feel, and just consider like,
Yeah.
if I do this session, even if I just do a little bit, is it going to help me more than not doing it? sometimes it will be the case that, like, even if you just do some powers and, a couple of pulls or something, and, don't do like the kind of bulk, that will be more beneficial than taking a day off.
Yeah,
Sometimes the inverse is true, when actually you really do
absolutely.
need that day written off and, put your feet up, put the kettle on, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But more often than not, it tends to be the first case.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say just try and consider it within the context of, like, what is going to benefit me the most, not just right here, right now, but in terms of, like, within a wider context, within a wider scope. So, like, what are my goals? What am I working towards? And there you go. And also, just if you can do a session when you really don't want to do it, like, it kind of builds discipline. So kind of flip it on its head. It's like, I feel awful right now, but I kind of want to do this session
Yeah.
because I know it's going to help me.
So it's looking at it in a positive light rather than, yeah. I'd also say on that, just to kind of reiterate what I was saying at the start in terms of having that bucket, is the only way that you're going to be able to reduce that is by getting rest and sleeping.
Yes.
So you have to realize that if you're compounding yourself with all these different types of stress, there's only one way that you're going to get rid of that, which is recovering, sleeping, and like regenerating in, whether it be sleep or whether it making time for friends or a hobby or some other interest that takes your mind off the stress that you've had to deal with. Because for some people, training is a de-stressor, but you have to realize as well, like, training does endure stress. So even if it is a de-stressor, like, you're compounding a different type of stress without you potentially realizing the effect that has. So I'd say, you need to make sure that if you are doing all these things, you set aside time for yourself to actually recover from them. Yeah.
All right. Second part of the question.
Yeah. So the second part, remind me of the question again, because
so first part was just managing non-training stress during training, and then the second one was how to handle a session that has to be cut short.
I mean, I think it depends on why it was cut short. If you've decided to cut it short because you can't be asked, then I think you need to sort of evaluate your, like, the reason why you've done that. It's not necessarily always a bad thing, but it's definitely something that might potentially need to be evaluated post session. And I think that's probably more worrying than, for example, if something does happen that needs your urgent attention, meaning that you can't finish your session. But I guess there's a couple of caveats to that, because just because you can't do your full session doesn't mean you couldn't go and do what you need to do, and then if you have time, come back and do the rest of the session. If you feel like it. But also, I used to a lot do, like, oh, I've missed these exercises, I'll just add them on the next day. But I realized that, and I did that sort of when I first started, and I realized that actually doing that is just going to make it a lot harder the next day, which means that the day after it's going to be harder to recover.
It's just like, like, oh, I really don't want to do this, so I just put it off till tomorrow. And then tomorrow you're like, I still really don't want to do this. It just kind of becomes a perpetual cycle. Also, it kind of gets you into the habit of, like, you probably can do them all in one session, it's just for whatever reason you don't want to. And so moving certain exercises to later sessions, it's going to mess with your recovery, for one. So it's going to kind of like derail how you approach the program. Can potentially affect the stuff within the session as well. Like, say for example, like, I don't fancy doing back squats today, so I'm going to push them to tomorrow when I've got pulls. Well, if I do them straight after the pulls, they're going to suffer.
It's going to be suboptimal.
Yeah. If I do them before the pulls are going to suffer. So it's like, it's I know I did exactly what you used to do, in that, like, sometimes, because you think, well, even if I don't want to do it now, if I do it tomorrow, then it's still done. It's better than not doing it. Ironically, sometimes not doing it is better. So gets you into the habit of like, I can't push this back, so I either do it now or I don't, and then
Yeah.
you actually do it now.
Yeah.
But also, again, doesn't mess with all the programming and, tomorrow's session, that kind of thing. Yeah, obviously there's like certain situations, like, say at the morning, say at the moment, a lot of us are training outside, and like weather is a big factor.
Mm.
So, if I can't do an afternoon session because it's chucking it down with rain, it's like, well, that's, something beyond my control. I'd rather take the most important parts of that session and move it to tomorrow.
Absolutely.
If I don't want to do an afternoon session because I just don't feel like doing an afternoon session, then that's on me.
Yeah, precisely. But also you have to, what I was sort of alluding to is you have to sort of figure out what the reason for that is. If it's something that you can't control, whether it's the weather, well, you can't exactly just go, please, like you can't exactly sing the song like rain, rain, go away, come back another day. It doesn't work like that.
Rain, train in the rain.
But there are certain aspects that you're able to control. I'm not saying, for example, something that's happened out of the blue that needs your urgent attention, because that's not something that you can control and it might need your direct attention. I'm saying, like, if you lack motivation, if you can't be bothered, if someone has asked you to do this but you make the excuse, oh yeah, don't worry, I'll do that now, and stop your session, like it probably doesn't need that much attention until you've finished. And I think as well, you need to sort of figure out why that isn't taking your undivided attention. Why is it, if it's in your control, why is it that you're missing that? Why is it that you have to cut your session short? Is it because of your time management, or because you can't be bothered to do the rest of that session, or you lack energy or motivation? Because they're all factors that you should be able to sort of answer. And if you can't, then, well, that's on you. What? That's why. Ask your coach. Yeah. That's why you've got a coach. Your coach tells you you're just being lazy.
Yeah, stop sandbagging.
Yeah, it's a good question though. Cool.
Yeah, I'd say, I just wanted to add, because sometimes that, look, I've got a big session here that might take 2 hours, but I've only got an hour because of whatever situation. Okay, so what do you do within that hour? So again, just like kind of prioritizing those exercises, which are the most important within that program for the day.
Which is usually the full lifts or the squats or the pull.
Basically, yes. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Just go from that, and then if you have time for like stretching accessories, put those on afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, move from big things to small things.
Absolutely. Like, it's like, if you've got an hour, you're not going to spend an hour doing your accessories, are you? Let's be honest. Like, if you have the time, the most important thing will be the most important thing for you to make you better.
Yeah.
The lifts, the pulls, the squats, or some kind of technical drill that your coach has given you. And there will be a reason that they've given you that.
Unless you're catching up with your friends afterwards and you want to get a serious pump on.
Yeah. Do some arms.
All right.
Yeah, cool.
Mute to that question.
Let's go to the next one.
Got one from Prince. Prince would like to know our favourite lifters and why.
Favourite lifters. I don't know if I've got just one. I feel like I have a couple. One more so for sort of their technical prowess, but also one just because it very much mimics my style of lifting.
This is not Plesnoy. I'm going to be disappointed.
It is Plesnoy, yeah.
Oh, of course it is.
But then again, like you have to, the two goats, like Lou and Lasher, I think it would be easy to say that they would be favourites of the vast majority of weightlifters. But I'd say Plesnoy mainly just because he very much mimics a lot of my lifting. Sorry, I say he mimics. Yeah. I mimic him. It's definitely not the other way around.
He's trying to get into the DMs.
But I'd also say, and I don't know whether this is on a personal level because I know him or because I just really like the way that he moves. But Eric Michalski, and I know that obviously I know him really well, but like he very much is undoubtedly a very, very good mover of weight.
Mm.
And testament to that, he's used in almost every Catalyst Athletics voiceover on Instagram.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'd say Pliesnoy and Michalski.
There you go. Oh God, I don't know. Again, it's easy enough to kind of like go. You mentioned like Lasher and Lou, and it's like they're great within their own regard. But I think favorite lifter, it's gonna be an individual thing.
Yeah,
And I don't know, when I was kind of like starting with weightlifting, Matty Rogers was kind of really, kind of at the forefront of women's weightlifting, and that was just awesome to see. Again, because she's my height and just like absolutely killing it. So it was
yeah,
like weird to see somebody with like, sort of similar frame. Not that I was, ever that strong when I started, but, sort of similar frame and, lifting what she was lifting. It was like, holy shit. Okay.
yeah,
And so that was always fun to watch. And then Kate Nye comes along and, Kate Nye's brilliant as well.
yeah,
I think from a technical perspective, I really like Toshiki.
yeah.
Um,
Toshiki Yamamoto.
Absolutely. Like the man just knows how to move. Like
Yeah,
everything
and
is just
also he's ridiculously strong.
yeah, just stupid strong, moves really, really well. Um just can't I just can't fault it. It's just like it's just textbook. So I really, really like that. And then who else? I like Laura Toma.
I was just about to say that if I were to choose a female, it would be Laura D'Artoma.
It's just the aggression is just amazing. Just every single lifts, she just like attacks
And
it.
her jerks as well.
Oh yeah,
They're so unique.
mm,
Her front foot is, I wouldn't say it's late, but her front foot is so exaggerated. But, I feel like that's what lends her to being the successful weightlifter that she is that she has literally figured out her own way to lift.
yeah. It's kind of iconic, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
it's everybody has their own little style. She just has a very easily recognizable style.
absolutely.
Um, I got Valentin as well, Lydia Valentin, just
Yeah,
fucking awesome.
absolutely.
I don't know. I think it's hard to
So basically, it's not just one, it's basically all of them.
it's like 5 or 4.
Yeah.
I think you just take bits from them that you like, that you kind of appreciate and that you look for when watching them. But I don't know. I couldn't say that I have like a favorite, just several.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I also want to add to that. I absolutely love Shizi Young. Like
Yeah.
he's just, I don't know. He cracks me up. He's got so much passion, but it's just, you can just tell that he loves it.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite screamy boy.
Yeah. Pow.
Brilliant. We need. How comes nobody at Central London like screams yet? They're all like dead silent.
Yeah, I just don't think they haven't developed their own technique yet. They haven't developed their own. It's a war cry, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not that we're actually asking people to come up. I feel like when we come back to lifting, that everyone that's listened to this, they're going to come back to their first session and have their own personal war cry and say, "Coach, I've been working on this for the last 3 months."
Well, it's fucking top marks from me.
Everyone's different. Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Next one.
Next one. Apparently, you have a question.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Oh, did I? Yeah. Sorry.
So, apart from the lifts themselves, what exercise is the most important?
I mean, this is my question, so I want to see what you say.
I refuse to say anything on the topic.
So, without the snatch and the clean and jerk, squats.
Squats, bro. Yeah, I think it's going to be squats and pulls. I think the lifts themselves teach you technique, what else do you have to work on? And that's basically going to be like power.
Leg strength and power.
Yeah, it's just strong legs, strong back, all of that.
Yeah.
Would you?
You're only allowed one. You're not allowed squats and pulls.
No, just one. But
Just
this leads me on to my counter question. If you could only do one for the rest of your life, what would you do? Squats or pulls?
I mean, you know the answer to that. I hate pulls, so it would be squats. But
Squats.
if I were to choose something that would make me infinitely better
Yeah.
as myself as a weightlifter, because I know that pulls are my weakness, it
Mm.
would probably be pulls. But I still don't think that you get as much benefit from it. That might sound I might be going kind of against the grain, but if I were to choose one, it would be, squats for sure.
Mm.
Yeah. Even if I were to do, because technically, if I were to do, let's say, like a low bar hybrid, and
Right.
I'd be getting a little bit more hamstring, a little bit more glute, a little bit more lower back. It's basically a pull.
Yeah. Basically, just go powerlifting. What are you doing over here? Low bar squats.
Not just low bar. I'm just saying if I could do the variation of a squat, I could do all the different types.
Yeah. Yeah, there are quite a few different types of squats to choose
Yeah.
from. So, yeah,
But yeah, I'd say squats.
that's interesting. I'd probably stick with pulls, but only because they're a little bit closer to the movement than a squat is,
Mm.
I would think. Because I feel like there's more like, front squat's a front squat, but all of the stuff that happens before the front squat is arguably more kind of important than the actual front squat itself. Although is a front squat a better driver of strength than just clean pulls?
You tell me.
I don't know, we need to write a thesis, really. Do some research.
I mean, the thing is that it's so subjective. Like, uh, I don't really understand how you would be able to measure that, because there's weightlifters who back squat and front squat. There's weightlifters who only back squat. There's weightlifters who only front squat, and yet they still have a phenomenal amount of leg strength. But
Yeah.
on the flip side, there's also lifters who don't usually ever do heavy pulls. They do light pulls where they're pulling the elbows up. Or there's lifters that do, like Lasher, who never actually pulls the bar. He just does his own little Lasher shrug, you know? And I think like it would be so hard to quantify actually what would be good. Like, let's say, for example, this was the study. If we got 100 weightlifters just to do lasher pulls, do you really think that those 100 weightlifters just do lasher pulls would get better?
Only lasher pulls, nothing else.
Only lasher pulls, yeah, or whatever you want to call them.
Are we talking like just like at the two lifts? Would they get better at the two lifts?
Yeah, just lasher pulls.
I feel like they would.
Do
Like,
you?
I think so.
Okay.
Again,
Then
you
on
know,
the flip side, if you were to say those 100 weightlifters were only allowed to do front squats, do you think they would get better? They would. They
yeah,
would get better. So it's like it's working within a parameter that you can control. It's why it's really hard if someone says to you, if you could only do one exercise, well, that's the reason there's hundreds of different exercises, because they all do different things.
It's true. Well, hey, you asked the questions.
I know, but
Don't look at me.
I just wanted to enter a topic of discussion, because it's not,
Yeah.
it's one of those questions where it can be very easily answered in terms of just saying it would be squats because they're fun and you get a lot of leg strength, you get a lot of power, especially for people who don't like pulls, but also you can get a lot from pulls as well,
Yeah.
so I was just interested to see where the discussion went, that's all.
This is just one big test, isn't it? This entire series has just been like you put me in the hot seat.
No, of course it hasn't.
I just wanted to kind of mention as well, because I know it's a kind of meme that, like, you know, your coaches always get disappointed when you don't do your accessories, or you're skipping your accessories and that kind of thing. But I think like the value of accessories is like generally really, it's just undervalued both by lifters and coaches, if you ask me. I think just in terms of like, right, this is what I've kind of experienced and seen. See if you kind of have seen the same thing. But like, I find a lot of people prescribe accessories solely as like, you know, oh, we're doing split squats because we need to make sure it's balanced, or we're doing, you know, I don't know, tricep extensions because your triceps are weak, you know, that kind of thing. But it's only done in order to bring things up to a certain point and not beyond that.
Yeah.
So it's like people aren't using accessories in order to actually develop strength, if that makes sense, which I think is like just a massive, I don't know, I think it's a shortcoming. I think that they could be used more often to develop strength. Like, I do a shit ton of accessories and it seems to be working. So
Yeah. No, I would agree. But then everything outside of the two lifts are technically accessories.
Yeah.
The pulls and squats are accessories because we don't compete in them.
No, yeah. But
So
I like even more kind of.
I know what you mean. I'm just, you know, I'm being difficult. I'm just being difficult. I'm being myself. No, but I have to agree with you. Like I'm inclined to agree with you because, you know, I usually more often than not, I will come at the point where I'll look at a lifter and I'll assess. And I'm not talking in terms of a technical perspective. I'm talking in terms of, you know, if they have some kind of weakness, like if they're pressing out or whatever it might be, and I just want to give them a little bit of extra tricep work, a little bit of extra shoulder work. But I'm completely agree in the fact that they shouldn't just be used to identify some form of weakness. They should be used just because you need to get stronger in that area generally.
Yeah.
Even if it is just like, you know, tricep extensions or overhead tricep extensions or split squats or cyclist squats or RDLs or back extensions or whatever it is. You know, I don't think there's, especially not in weightlifting, maybe in the S&C world, but I think in weightlifting, I don't think you can really say to someone, no, you're strong enough in that movement.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because if you could see someone split squat 200 kilos, how much would they be able to actually squat?
Bigly.
By that point?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that all I'm going to do is get to split squat, and I'm not trying to get their split squat up to 200 kilos. But also on the flip side, why not? If they can do it, it's going to drive single leg strength a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and although I don't want to take away from the lifts itself, if they can do it and they can manage it, why not? Like I would question if someone were to say to me, "Oh, but why don't you just do this?" Well, they are doing that, so why don't I give them this as well?
I think
You know,
this is
there's
it.
a context to everything.
Once you've done your kind of, you know, obviously there's a sort of hierarchy, and like, you know, we're weightlifters, so we want to prioritize the main lifts, and then everything else comes after that, like at various levels of importance. But you know, once you've done, you know, let's say 5 sets of your main lift, like, what are you gonna do? 10 sets? Like, no. You'll probably get more benefit from doing 5 sets of something else than, you know, just continually snatching, continually clean and jerking for like 3 hours. But
some people would argue with that, but
well, they can take it up with me. But I think it's like, it's almost taking a sort of like bodybuilding approach, but you know, it's the aims are completely different, but like I think the methodology is similar in that, like, you know, you get bodybuilders and like they're not interested in strength, but what they are interested in is like size and, you know, just making sure everything's in proportion, right? So, you know, in much the same way, it's like, you know, we might have massive legs, but if our back's weak comparatively, that's going to hurt us. So it's like, it's the same for them. If they've got massive legs, but their back is weak comparatively, they're going to lose points. So, but what you see with them is that they always do, you know, they're kind of like compound lifts or their main lifts, but all the accessories are just as important. And I think that that's something that a lot of weightlifters kind of forget about.
Yeah,
But it's kind of the same principle. It's like, yeah, you're not trying to look like a bodybuilder, but you're trying to be strong overall, or,
absolutely.
having a balanced level of strength.
Yeah,
So
but
and accessories, yeah.
that's why running like just specific strength cycles of doing things like pulls, things like presses, things like, squats, it works so well with weightlifters, because for a lot of people, we're just so used to doing the main lifts and then doing some pull or some squat, whereas if you actually dedicate the focus to that specific thing, you see your numbers shoot up. Oh, I wonder why. Because you've got stronger.
Mm.
You haven't just done the lifts. And I'm talking more of a point from when someone has been lifting for, say, a number of years. I'm not talking for someone who's just come into the gym. But even still, like, if you can get off to a good head start and you can get strong whilst getting more technically proficient, that's going to go a long way in terms of your development over that first year or so. Because I can't tell you how many people that I've coached that either lacks strength or lacks technical proficiency compared to someone who has a fairly good degree of both. You see them almost like skyrocket, and it's not necessarily because they're inherently talented. It's just because they are able to find a good balance between the two, rather than just being really, really strong with no technical proficiency, or technical proficiency with no strength. They're lucky enough to have a fairly average degree to start off with. So they're not lending themselves to the amount of like beastly like natural strength that they have, but they're also not, they're not also able to just pick it up like that. They have to work at it, and it works well. Yeah. So I had a question before you asked that, actually, and I think it was kind of on this point, but I've completely forgotten what it was about. So this is hypothetical again, obviously, and to give you a constraint, if you were to choose one type of accessory to benefit weightlifting, and I'm not talking squats and pulls because we've already discussed them, I'm talking things outside of that scope. So let's say like presses or rows, or single leg work or single arm work or back work. Like, if you could choose one thing, one accessory type, what would it be? Yeah.
So by type, do we mean like body group, or
Well, like arms, or like shoulders, or like
just lat pull down? That's what I want to do. God, that is a good question. I think it's actually painful. I think for myself, because my legs are pretty strong, but I'm trying to work on my upper body strength, I would personally focus on like presses. So overhead press, bench press, all kinds of presses. I think like the importance of a strong upper body is quite underrated in weightlifting. But again, like that's sort of mainly, that's from a more like kind of personal side. I think more generally for people, it's either going to be back or legs.
you reckon?
I reckon, yeah. I think you can get a lot of, like, if I take legs, for example, I think you can get a lot of utility. You've done all your main stuff. You've done your back squats, you've done your front squats, you've done your snatch balances, whatever. So what else can you do? Well, there's leg press, there's leg extensions, split squats, Bulgarian split squats, cyclist squats. Like these are all going to build stupid leg strength.
Yeah.
And and obviously, like, leg strength is apparently quite good in this sport. On the other hand, back strength is also pretty good. They're more like kind of like back and core. So I think core exercises on their own are useful at the end of training, that kind of thing. But the bulk of your core work is just going to come from like pulls and squats, like without a doubt. Like,
Yeah, because it doesn't matter how many planks you do, if you don't learn how to keep the back tight in that position, it doesn't matter how many planks you do, it's never going to help.
It's true. And I think it's just like bang for your buck as well. It's like, I feel you use your core a lot more doing like heavy pulls or heavy squats than you do just, doing a set of 20 crunches, you know.
Mm. And to be honest, I kind of want to flip it on its head as well. And I think one of the reasons why you might specifically do core work, like you alluded to, was it's specifically to target an area of weakness. And that's why you won't see a lot of weightlifters do like hundreds of sit-ups, hundreds of this. That, you know, they're doing things like rack holds, or even like a good morning, or a plank, or some kind of carry, or side bends, or side plank, or something that's like, I hate to use the word more functional, but it's going to lend itself a little bit better to staying in a position where you are over the bar, or where you have a heavy load over your head.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's not just like getting that six pack to look good at the beach. It's like, you know, it's all the other musculature within the core that we're kind of more interested in. It's
yeah,
just it's maintaining tension, isn't it?
it's allowing you to have tension everywhere else.
Yeah.
Because if you're like this, where you just sag through the midsection, it's going to make everything 10 times harder, because you're almost like leaking energy. You're leaking, Alex. You're leaking.
The
Yeah.
one that's like,
Just shout to someone, "You're leaking." No, I wouldn't shout that, but I'm inclined to agree and say that I think back and legs would probably be the area that I would look to target the most.
yeah.
I'd say from a personal perspective, back would be more important for myself. Yeah, I'm not saying that my legs are super strong. I'm just saying, like, my back is definitely weak.
More pause for you.
Yeah, just any kind of back work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Have we got any more?
We
We've
have a
got time
couple
for
more.
one more. Yeah.
Just going through. Just having a look. This is one from you again from last week.
Oh,
How do you select your weights for competition?
did we not go through that last week? No, we didn't, did we?
No, I
How do
think
you select? What?
I think we talked about competition weight, as in what weight class you should be in, but not how you actually select weights, like, or attempts rather.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Hmm.
Okay. Good question.
Open on 101% and then PB every attempt.
I would usually say, so to start off with, I would say for a very successful competition where you didn't push yourself, or you were very lucky, i.e., you PB'd, you go 6 for 6. I'd say for most people, going 4 for 6 is something to, I don't want to necessarily say aim for, but it's something where you started heavy enough that you were able to attempt a PB on your last attempts,
I was just saying.
unless you just like messed up your first attempts or whatever. But you know, I'm speaking like hypothetically here. Yeah, what were we gonna say?
No, again, just to kind of reaffirm what you said. In my head, for most competitions, it's like I want to go between 4 for 6 and 6 for 6,
Yeah,
because 4 for 6 is like my kind of like minimum. Like
yeah,
that means that I hit my first attempt, I hit my second attempt, and then the third one was probably a PB. So
yeah.
if we got it, great. If we didn't, it's
Try
okay.
next time. Yeah,
You know?
exactly. I guess I'll kind of break this down. So for the snatch, obviously the snatch is a more technical lift, and obviously it's a lot longer as a movement pattern. So there's a lot more inherent risk involved. So assuming that there is more risk, even if you are a snatch specialist like myself, I'm definitely more well versed in a snatch than I am in a clean. Let's be honest. But I personally would tend to open my lifters at a slightly more conservative weight in the snatch,
Yeah.
something that I know that they're comfortable executing under the added sort of anxiety of a competition. So to kind of put that in perspective, I'll usually plan for most of our athletes that I would handle to open anywhere between, and this is a fairly broad range, anywhere between sort of 87 to I want to say like 93%. I know that's very specific, but it's like, I feel like that's the sort of area where you're able to know, like, if you're having a good day, push it up above 90% on the first attempt. And if you don't feel that great, more often than not, you should be able to hit between 85 to 90%, even if you don't feel, that great, unless it has been an absolute shocker of a day. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, I plan to open them between 90 to 93%. Now, obviously, that said, it depends on how proficient that athlete is at snatching. If they're not that great, then you might want to play a little bit safer. Again, how experienced is that lifter, say in a technical in a competitive environment? I've known people who absolutely thrive in competition, like yourself, but then I've also known people who, I don't know, I feel like you like competition.
I do enjoy it, but I think like there's definitely that element of, it's kind of like anticipation, everything means a little bit more, and therefore you kind of take it a tad more seriously,
Yeah.
And usually when I'm heading out there, like, it's just like, I can feel my heart going. Not that I'm like worried, but I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah, yeah,
watching. I don't
yeah,
know what I'm doing here.
yeah. um yeah, I know what you mean, but like some thrive,
Yeah,
you know
it definitely
and
helps, don't get me
yeah,
wrong, like,
and
rather than not help.
absolutely. And like you just said, some don't like competition. They prefer to just hit three lifts that they know they can hit, which I don't want them to do. I want them to hit a PB. And also, again, how do they feel energy wise? And the reason I say this is you've got to realize that the snatch is only one part of the competition, and it's definitely worth reserving some energy for the clean and jerk, especially if you're already feeling fairly low in energy in the first place.
Mm.
So before I kind of move on to like the clean and jerks, because obviously I wanted to sort of split this down, I would say as a general rule of thumb, for first attempts, I'd go anywhere between 87 to 93%. From that guideline, I would then look to add anywhere between 2 to 5% to that. So going from anywhere to 92 to 97% for the second attempt. And then for the third attempt, it would be, again, maybe an extra 2 to 5%, depending on how they felt. And that would take you anywhere between 96 to, I'm really bad at maths, 101 to 102 plus. So essentially, you're either hitting, your absolute max, or you're trying to go for a PB if you can. That's what I'd say for the snatch.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, pretty much reiterate. Okay. This is my coach, so I kind of follow the same lines here.
You're just thinking, hey, that's what I do in competition.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. I'd say, just to kind of bounce on your point about like, competition helping or not helping. So for that first attempt, like, I know once I got that first attempt done, I'm fine and I'm in the competition zone. Until that first attempt happens, I'm always a bit like, oh, okay. You're always a lot more nervous for your first attempt in the snatch than you are for the first attempt in the clean and jerk. And so if you are the kind of person where, you can kind of keep that nervousness like held down and that doesn't affect you, that's fine. If you are the kind of person that, like, maybe you go out there and you shoot yourself a little bit, that's fine to drop it down. Again, that first snatch, you really want to be hitting, or you want to be choosing an attempt that you can hit quite comfortably. Because, like, you go out there and you miss it, and suddenly you're like, oh God, I've only got 2 more attempts, and if I don't make this, I bomb out, and what does my coach think? And like, just get your first snatch in. That's fine. Get it on the board. Because once you're in that zone, the rest of it comes really, really easy.
Yeah.
So just get over that kind of like initial, like, just that worry. Get a number on the board, and
absolutely.
after a while, it's like, oh, I hit my opener in training like really, really frequently, and it's not a number that scares me. I've got no problem with that, even if I'm a bit like jittery.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I think just know thyself.
Yeah, know thyself. And the coach should hopefully know thyself as well. The coach usually knows thyself more than you know thyself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so in terms of the clean and jerk, now obviously you've probably expended a fair amount of energy doing your snatches, even if uh, hopefully you didn't bomb out. Um, but
I've
you
really
know,
got that first attempt in.
but you're usually you will be a little bit fatigued. You know, the body's warm, yes, but you know, you might have had to wait for lifters. You might have had to only have 5 minutes between the clean and the snatch and the clean jerk. You might have had no minutes, you know, from experience. And I'm sure,
Been there before.
yeah. But you know, I guess hypothetically, you know, you might be a little bit fatigued. Your body's nice and warm, and I'm hoping that your mind will be sort of fully entrenched into the task at hand. Usually, the way that I would approach this is the snatch is one lift, the clean and jerk is another lift. And
100%.
obviously, you're thinking to yourself, well, yeah, that's because they're two movements. But what I mean by that is they're two separate competitions.
Mm.
Um, you know, you might have done really well at the clean and jerk, the snatch, but guess what? You better keep it up because there's some big clean and jerkers out there. You know, I don't think I've seen many people win a competition from snatches unless it's at the elite level.
No, this is true. I think just to add on to that, being big clean and jerkers out there, generally, with the snatch being the more technically demanding of the two movements, you will see a lot of people who are very, very strong but not very technical proficient. Kind of like come out and they'll snatch all right, and that's fine. And you're like, hey, I was one of the last. I'm doing pretty well here. And then all of a sudden, you're like the first person out for clean and jerk. You're like, because everybody else, like, despite, they're just stronger.
Yeah,
And that reflects in the numbers that they're picking for the clean and jerk.
yeah,
And so that's something to bear in mind a lot. I think the further up you go, the less of it you see. But
yeah.
within like kind of local competitions, like, I think we'd always focused a lot on like, technique, and it's just something that I really enjoy working on. But like a lot of people had like far more developed strength backgrounds, and that caught me out, on more than one
A
occasion.
lot, yeah.
And it was just, oh yeah, that's great, just finished my snatches, went 2 for 3, 3 for 3, I'm feeling really good. And it's just like, oh, I've got like I'm the first one out for clean and jerk. I had 5 minutes and now I've got 2. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So just to sort of add to Alex's point, obviously some people excel to the clean jerk, some people excel at the clean jerk, you know, and others don't. But I think it's worth having in the back of your mind that anything can happen, and it needs to be adjusted to the athlete. Just like Alex has said, you know, you might be really good at the snatch and you might be decent at the clean and jerk, but you know, if for example all of your competitors are better than you, that's something that you need to factor in your attempt selection. You might need to potentially go slightly heavier, even if you don't feel that confident doing that, just to allow yourself to potentially have a slightly longer rest period between your last snatch and your first clean and jerk. You know, and that comes down to tactics, and I think that can be another topic of discussion because I think that's a whole sort of ball game in itself. um I'll usually tend to open my lifters at a weight that I know that they can hit even when they're slightly under fatigue. So what I mean by that is usually I'd go anywhere between 88 to, again, like 92%. What you've also got to realize though is that there's a little bit less margin for error in the clean and jerk. Even if you are slightly fatigued, I would say that I I think for me there's less error for me to miss. It might not be for other people to miss in the clean jerk. Um, yeah, I'd say there's less margin for error for myself, but for other people, again, depending on
okay,
the
so yeah, you're more likely to mess up clean and jerk than you are a snatch.
no, I'm more likely to mess up a snatch than a clean jerk.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Even though I'm more technically proficient, there's a
Mm.
little bit less that can go wrong in a clean and jerk, depending, because really the clean jerk, like you've alluded to, is really based, although on technical proficiency, there you need to be strong, very strong. Um, so that's kind of what I'm sort of getting at. Um, although if you've had a really good day on snatches and you feel really good, there's nothing saying that you couldn't open your lifters 90 plus, 90 to 90 plus. Like if they feel really good and they warm up to 85, maybe close to 90% before they go on that platform, and they feel ready, you're like, okay, like,
Wrong with it.
let's do it. Like if you feel good for it, let's go for it. And I guess
I
at
think
that point, sorry, go on before I kind of
I
carry
was
on.
just going to say, like, in order to kind of know, is my lifter at that point or not? Again, see how they're warming up. If they're hitting, as you said, like 90% plus with like relative ease, and it's just moving really, really well, then yeah, bump up their openers, of
Yeah,
course.
absolutely.
I'd say it's always good practice to kind of hit your opener, once in the kind of warm up room before heading out.
Yeah.
Some people will just hit like just before their opener and then go out. Most generally, they're kind of more seasoned and they know themselves, a little bit more, or their performance is a little bit flatter.
Yep.
But I think if especially if you're relatively new to the sport, like just hitting it in the back room, just being like, right, that felt okay, that felt great. I just need to go out and just do exactly the same as I just did 30 seconds ago. Well, hopefully more than 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. We knew what you meant, don't worry. It's not a repeat of the English, don't worry.
Yeah.
No, but I think you pointed out well as well, is that I know some people who don't like to hit their openers before they go out on the platform. But on the flip side, I've also coached people a la Alex Cave who likes to hit their openers in the platform. But again, that comes down to personal preference. Who likes to hit their openers in the back room before they go out on the platform. And again, that comes down to personal preference. Just because you're the coach and that's the way that you want it to be done doesn't mean that the athlete should do that. They might not feel comfortable, and by forcing them to hit their opener just on the platform or in the back room might wreak havoc in that athlete's mind. And I think that's not necessarily something that you need to try in a competition setting. I think that's something that might need to be done, say at like a benchmark or a local competition, something that can be, there's a lot less inherent risk involved. So if they do cock up a little bit, you're just like, oh, well, didn't mean anything anyway, did it? And that's not to say that people that go to local competitions, it doesn't mean anything. All I'm saying is that I'm talking at the perspective of like, say, an international or a national level lifter who, to them, a local level is sort of a qualifier. It's still just as stressful, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit different in terms of their mindset, or at least their approach to that local competition. Whereas we might be crapping ourselves, they're like, oh well, it's okay because this is just a tester. Whereas others, if they are qualifying, they might just be like, oh god, I'm really nervous, blah blah blah. Anyway,
it's so dependent on, again, it's all relative.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, whether it's the Olympics or a tiny competition down at your local club, it's we all die. It doesn't mean anything. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's like, so it doesn't really matter whether you're really, really worried for a little competition or not. It's again, it is what it is.
Yeah. So going through weight selection, just to sort of bring it back to, I guess, so that you can have a bit of takeaway, very similar to the snatch. Usually the sort of guideline that I would use would be first attempts anywhere between 88 to 94%. I know that's a big range, but it depends how you feel on the day. I would say there's very little use in opening up below 85%, even 88% less, because unless you really, really don't feel like it, or for example, you're only there to qualify, that's fine. You don't have to hit, you don't have to always go to max in competitions. And quite often you don't see people do that unless obviously it's Olympics, it's world champs, it's Europeans, things that matter to that lifter on an individual case basis. Second attempts then, based on how they went, I would usually go anywhere between 4 to 8%. I think generally for the clean and jerk, you can take larger jumps than you can in the snatch.
I feel like, yeah, because if you're having a really good day, like you can kind of use that extra fire to really,
Yeah.
slam those last two attempts.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the reason why I'd go anywhere between 4 and 8% is generally for most people, 4 to 8% will be anywhere between 5 to 10 kilos per lift ish. Based obviously, if you've got like a 40-kilo cleaner jerk, it's not going to be 10 kilos, but it's relative, right? If you go to 40 kilos, you could probably afford to jump 8% because 8% of 40 kilos is not 8% of 400, for example, right? So that takes you to anywhere between 93 to 98%. And then based on that, again, I would go for another 4 to 8% jump. And that would kind of lend itself to, quick maths, 97 to about 102, basically a PB, 101, 102, 103% usually.
Mm.
So I would take anywhere between 4 to 8% jumps, depending on the lifter, depending on how it went, depending on how they feel, depending on the result. If you need 8% to win, and your lifter wants to do that, then by all means do it. If they don't feel up for it and they're happy to take second best, 4% it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's true. I think on the kind of topic of once you have basically two changes. So you get your automatic increase, which is going to be a kilo above your previous one. You have two changes. So you could bump that up by another kilo, and then you could bump it up by 3, for example. But you can use those two changes to, basically jockey with other lifters.
absolutely.
And again, this is probably worth its own kind of video, its own kind of discussion, more like on competition tactics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be the case that, if you have the potential to medal or to, bump yourself up one, and okay, they're opening at the lift that I was going to open at. Okay, well, not open. Let's say for third attempts, right? You were planning on going for 100, they go for 100 and they hit it. And you're like, well, if I get that, I'm going to come second. But if I do 101, I'm going to come first.
Yeah.
So you can use that change in order to, bump yourself up. And
absolutely.
it's 1 kilo, like who cares? So at least that's the kind of mentality. Sometimes 1 kilo makes all the difference. But but by and large, I think that's something to bear in mind. Is as a lifter, you shouldn't really be worrying about the scoreboard that much. It should mainly be your coach's sort of responsibility.
Yeah.
Like you should only be focused. Like nobody else should exist. You are just you're
Just
a
you and your
weightlifting machine.
coach.
They give you a bar and you produce lifts. That's all you do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, everything else is kind of handled by your coach, or, if you have more than one coach with you at that time, that's their job.
Yeah.
It's good to kind of know what's going on in the competition, but again, just make the lifts. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so, but that's again something that's probably a little bit more, again, deserves its own kind of discussion, but is something that can happen. Like sometimes you've got a beautiful plan and it's all going well, and then your coach comes up to you and they're like, do you want to put another 2 kilos on, and we get
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that. I think I'd say on the tactical point of view, again, everyone has their own tactics, and I don't want to share too much, mainly just because it's it's our own personal approach. I'm happy to share some of the things that you might usually see, like you said, jockeying other lifters or counting down the clock, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of sly different ways to waste the clock and do that sort of stuff, which people say is like, oh, that's not sportsmanlike, but let's be honest, it's sport. So
I'll burn my clock and I'll burn your house.
Yeah. So I think on that we'll probably cap it there before we get any death threats. Yeah, so thanks guys for tuning in. Alex, we're back next week. For
Yeah,
some reason I thought we weren't, but we are back next week.
unless I'm in prison.
Unless Alex has actually burnt someone's house down. Anyway, thanks guys for tuning in, and we shall catch you on the next episode.
Catch you then.